All right, welcome back to another episode of Behind the Grind. I'm so excited today. I have a very special guest today. We're going to switch it up just a little bit today, Behind the Grind, but it's still in line with Behind the Grind, but we call the pastor.
All right.
We call Pastor Tim Holly in today from True Life Christian Church, and we're going to chop it up a little bit today. But before we do, I'm sitting here thinking about Tim. You know, we met a long time ago. We used to work together years ago. And you guys would probably be surprised how many years ago it was. Matter of fact, I met this guy. He was actually wearing a three-piece suit. I call it. I don't know if it was a three-piece suit back then. We didn't have the cell phones to capture the moment. I would have definitely.
We have old flip phones.
I would have definitely captured that moment. But what's going on, man? Well, welcome to Behind the Grind.
Listen. It is an honor. It is an honor to be here. Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It's this is a great experience, and I'm just happy to come hang out with you, man.
Man, I appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir.
I was trying to find a way so we can hang out. You're a very busy man these days, so I was like, let me see how I can get him to.
I'm here. Yeah, things are good, man.
Good, man. So
really
yeah, we connected, like I just mentioned. We connected in the financial service industry.
Yes,
so
we did.
You want to talk a little bit about where you started and what brought you to what you're doing today?
Yeah, man, you're taking me back.
Yeah,
right?
Man, it's been a minute.
It's giving these gray hairs in my beard context. About 15 years ago. We met in banking, and I was just a little teller on the window.
I must say, I don't want to say this, but he's much younger than me, but, and he's already talking about 15 years. So So it doesn't even look like 15.
I know, right? It's crazy. Banker, spent some time there at the bank and worked the teller window, been a banker, been assistant manager.
Yeah.
I've been in their leadership development program so that I could have the opportunity to do district level leadership.
Right.
And all those things are great. Now I'm planted in a more specific part of the business, a different arm in investments.
Okay.
So still in the financial service industry, but more specifically in the investment world. So I'm in that arena right now. They like to refer to it as the dark side.
Okay. So you're doing that's the 9 to 5.
That's the 9 to 5.
Right?
That's the 9 to 5.
But you're a pastor. So let's talk about a new pastor.
Yeah.
Right? Well, you're a new pastor in the pastor of True Life Christian Church.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that, man.
Man, God is good, man.
Yes.
My cousin I have a cousin who pastors down in Kansas, and he says the Lord's been kind, man.
He's been kind.
And so that's his response to everything. The Lord has been kind. And we were blessed, man, to really be able to launch True Life Christian Church this past November of 2019.
Yeah.
And it was a work in the making, man.
Yeah.
I love what I do in terms of finances, but that passion piece on the inside of you, it keeps going.
Yeah.
And that part of my life is the thing that keeps me up at night. God, am I doing what you said do, or am I missing it by leaps and bounds? And so, back in, I don't know, where do you want me to start? You want me to give you back in?
Whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason why I'm asking, again, you look young, and I know you're fairly young into pastoring, so you kind of want to know what drew you to pastoring, or obviously I know the Lord called you per se. I know that, but how does that look? I mean, how does that?
So I'm a third generation preacher.
Okay.
My grandfather pastored. The generations may be longer because if I'm not mistaken, my grandfather had an uncle who pastored. But I'll just start with my grandfather who pastored New Rising Star. Shout out New Rising Star. My uncle now is the successor pastor there. So Uncle Chris pastors my late grandfather's church.
Okay.
But back in 2003, I acknowledged my call.
Okay.
I felt this burning passion to do this thing that God had called me to do.
Yeah.
And I'm preaching and I'm active and I'm doing things in ministry and I'm having these growth moments. And right around the time that my grandfather passed away, which was early 2011, God started speaking to me differently.
Okay.
And I went to Bishop Murphy's prayer conference in Atlanta in 2013.
Okay.
And I sat there. This is January because he always has it at the top of the year.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there.
Very powerful conference.
Very powerful conference. And, prayer is the focal point. And so we're up early, 6 a.m. and we're in prayer. And after prayer has taken place, people begin to leave. They're dispersing from the spot of prayer. And I'm sitting there.
Okay.
And God started speaking to me. He said, the mantle that rested on your grandfather will now rest on you.
Okay.
And this is almost 2 years after his passing. And I'm like, okay, God, I don't really have all the context for what that means.
Right.
But I was really emotional about it.
Right.
And so, I fast forward to around the year of about 15, God started saying to me, I'm going to send you to this place that I'm preparing you for a place that I'm going to send you. And I'm like, okay, what are you talking about?
What does that mean?
What does that mean? And so I started visiting these churches, and I'm like, okay, God, because the place that I was serving in, where I had been for a while, being used, like most people would be like, very active. I mean, really, really to a degree where people are like, I don't want to use the word covet the spot, but would recognize it as a really good spot to be in. My uncle really gave me freedom to grow.
Okay, wow.
And really nurture my gift and become familiar with my spiritual authority, right?
Okay.
And so that opportunity provided that for me. But God started showing me something more. And so I'm praying and I'm like, God, what do you want me to do? Where am I going with this? And so at that particular point, he says to me, the church you're looking for is inside of you. Okay. And so I'm thinking, okay, like I had visited all these churches, maybe 50 or 60. I'm dragging my wife, like, hey, we're going to go visit it. We're looking at places like, let's go visit this church. And really found some really great spots to be in, and connected with some really dope people. But God kept saying, that's not it. He says to me, the church you're looking for is inside of you. I have a cousin. I had not shared that with anybody. Cousin comes over, sits down at my kitchen table, and he says verbatim the same thing that God said to me. I'm blown away. I'm like, okay, God, what do you mean by this? And I had been thinking for years that all these things that I wanted to implement in the places that I was in, or that were the places where I was serving, that it was for that.
So you were thinking, this is the place where I'm supposed to share all these ideas that God has given me, which you were doing.
Which I was doing, absolutely. And not all of them were received, which is fine, because, everybody's like, I'm like, yeah, let's do that. Right. But really just like around some structure, some details. And so... at that spot, man, God was just like, yo, this is what you're going to do. And he gave me the name of the church, True Life Christian Church. And then after that, I said, I can't do this. And so so there was a season where I'm like, God, I'm not ready. But I did. I was wise enough to listen and for it to be in my spirit to know. And so I fast forward and God says to me, and I'm having success at work as well. Right. And so I'm like having this conversation with God, like, yo, I'll do this church stuff that you want me to do, but let me do this corporate thing, because I can make a whole lot over here. But I never had peace. And so God said to me, you will never have peace until you do what I say. And I was like, all right, well, I'll do it. And so I said yes. And so that yes really was the catalyst for change in terms of what was going to happen over the next several years of my life. And so we rallied. We got a couple people. I shared with them the vision. We started having Bible class in my living room. So we did that for about a year. And in preparation, and we're, just trying to build some synergy around what God had shown. And it's a labor of love, man. It's no easy feat. You definitely have to be graced for it, because you take on a lot, taking on that responsibility of having people that God places in your care. That's a big responsibility. It's a huge responsibility. You have to be sharp. You have to stay in God's presence, so you know what he's saying, because lives are at stake.
They are. And a lot of words, the words that God speaks through you, people hold on to everything that you say, because these are God's words per se. Wow. So again, so you're counseling people, right?
Yeah, I do a little bit of everything, man. So I'm a jack of all trades, but so I was cutting hair in college, so I cut.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I cut hair.
So that's how you keep. That's how you're able to keep the waves.
Listen, if I got somewhere to go, I'm like, let me cut my hair first. It's a time thing, man. I don't have time to sit in the barbershop.
And you probably able to preserve it that way. My line is.
So I cut hair. I do marital counseling. I do financial coaching, where I do like budgeting and planning with people. You got to let me get in your business a little bit, because I need to know how you're spending, what you're doing, but help people set goals, because I think these are things that matter.
I bet that's huge. Just coming out of the bank, I know that's huge. People the impact of finance, right?
Yeah, it's huge.
And if you're able to help solve people's, or at least guide them in the direction, for their finance, you can.
It's a big deal. Yeah. So as a church, we're proud that just last week we had our first of many financial literacy seminars, and we called it Financially Lit. I'm trying to use this young lingo.
You can still use it. I sound strange trying to stay lit. My daughter tell me, Dad, nah.
Be quiet. Yeah.
But no, that's nice. I like that. Financially Lit. What was that about?
So we talked about a few things that we deem to be important, right? Okay. So just high level, I said, people need to know debt isn't money, right? People will swipe a card and sign a promissory note and have all of this accumulated debt. It ain't cash. Come on, y'all. So the best way to free yourself of that, we talked about that. So debt isn't money. We talked about you can't work forever, and money has a value that changes. Wow. And so we talked about the time value of money. I know that some of these terms sound very technical, but the reality is just if your money isn't in some vehicle where you are gaining some type of compound interest, that $100 today is less valuable tomorrow if not invested. Yeah. So it's not deep, right? Just simple concepts, but really trying to get people behind the idea of being intentional. Yeah. As a church, we want to be intentional. Right. We want to be intentional. We want God to be a part of everything you do. And so at the top of the year where people are setting goals and thinking about their wellness. Listen, your money needs to be well also. So
that's perfect timing.
Yeah, right? Perfect timing. So we'll do something wellness centered at the top of every year, and for this year, of course, the focus came into your dollar. So we have Financially Lit, and I'm proud to say that we blessed the people that were in the room. If you came and you signed up and you were not a core team member of True Life Christian Church, we sold $100 into you.
Wait, hold on. $100?
$100, man. We want to be intentional. Wow. We believe that
I should have signed up.
Yeah, you should have. Yeah. So y'all need to check us out, amen.
Nice. No, that's nice.
But just trying to let people know, like, hey, we want to be a part of your growth. It's something that I say every week, every service, every weekend service. I say we want to be a part of your faith journey and your growth, and we want that to resonate in all the spots that we know God wants to show up in your life. Your money is definitely one of them.
That's nice. That's nice, man. So let's shift a little bit. You're married, right?
Yes, sir.
And then you've got how many children?
Four beautiful. I call them my Monstars.
Monstars.
My Monstars, yeah. My four beautiful daughters, Aubrey, Addison, Ava, and baby Amelia. Okay. And so we have four girls, man. And listen, I'm graying every day. Y'all pray for me out there. Say a real good prayer for me, because these kids they're more work than the church. Amen.
Is it really?
Some days. Okay. Some days, my wife and I always say we're outnumbered, man. So we go home, we get beat up on some days.
They got support.
Yeah. They teaming up against us. Right. But the girls are great, man. Right. Like, and I think just in terms of timing, this Kobe thing hit me hard. Yeah. As a dad of four, man. I know what it's like to have that fourth little baby, and you're trying to capture these moments, and then just like that, one of my daughters could be with me at any given moment, just like his was with him, and you think you're always trying to think about protecting them and preserving them and them, living out your legacy, right? As a dad who's I'm a preacher. Yeah. And so in this world, right? Yeah. So many sons following the footsteps of their father. I got a daughter that's gonna maybe one day. One of my daughters always says, "Dad, I'm gonna preach today."
Do you have one that kind of?
I do have one that says that she wants to do what I do.
That's nice.
But then I have another one that clings to my like my little Siamese. So she's on me.
That's wow.
So it's a beautiful thing as a dad.
Yeah.
And so that hit me, man. It brought tears to my eyes, bro. So it was rough.
So Family Guy. So let's talk. So and I'm labeling you So bear with me. I'm labeling you a millennial.
Yeah.
I missed the cut, y'all. Yeah. I just got cut off.
By a little bit.
But you're part of the millennials, and I call it that because we always hear these talks about the millennials and all that kind of stuff, and so but the millennials are older now, right? They have families. They're establishing different things that are a lot different than what we traditionally try to say about millennials.
Absolutely.
But now that they're moving, you're pastor now, and you have a church. Your church is it's interesting. It's at noon on Saturdays.
Noon on Saturdays. Yes,
is that for family, or what is that really about? Why Saturdays? And
so the church that has really been a blessing to us, Embry United Methodist Church. So we worship at 1803. Shameless plug. 1803 East 14 Mile Road.
Go ahead, share.
Yeah. In Birmingham, Michigan.
Yeah.
And one of their missional purposes is to create space for people to carry out the mission of Christ.
Right.
And so they opened their doors for a lot of things. And Sunday was really heavily occupied. And they said, well, Pastor Tim, we have Saturday available.
Right.
And just side note, it's important to listen to what God says.
Okay.
We were looking for space.
Okay.
And we had been told no by a lot of people. And God said, listen, trust me, the door will open. Take the path of least resistance. Right.
Okay.
And so
he prepared you before.
He prepared me before because I wasn't looking to plant in Birmingham. I was looking at Southfield.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking about Birmingham,
Michigan.
I'm thinking Southfield or Detroit or something, right?
And so God led us to this space, and they couldn't be nicer. I mean, they're nicest people that you ever want to meet. And they said, Pastor Tim, we have Saturday that's available if you're willing. And I said, we'll take it. And so it really supports this idea that we have that God is family centered as well.
Yeah.
And so we encourage people. We send out, we do all of our communication electronically. And so generally, as we're reminding people that we're worshiping over the weekend, we always say, hey, get up, have breakfast with your family, come worship with us, and then continue your Saturday in God.
Right.
And so we've become very, I preach in a very, that 3-piece suit he told y'all I was in the bank. I don't preach in that.
You don't have a 3-piece suit?
Nah. I'm preaching in jeans and hoodies.
Oh, wow.
T-shirts that say God is able. So really? We're, it's real chill, man. I'll have on, what you see me in now is really what you get in terms of that experience. And so it's a really comfortable environment. You can come in just as you would like and hang out, worship in the Word, and go forward, man. So it's family centered. Yeah. We listen. We leave church. We go over to the pancake house. We occupy that space. Eat up all the pancakes. Hit the movies, and it really just try to make your day really centered around God, around family, and around that type of an experience. It's
almost like it's not a huge disruption either. It's like sounds like it's a rhythm that you guys have. Kind of flow into it. Nice.
That's the goal behind it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about millennials in church.
Okay.
I've been waiting to get to the pastor.
Yeah, get
Pastor
let's do
Tim.
It. Okay.
And talk to the millennials, because, there's, again, stereotypes out there, and maybe you can help me what's the word? Dismissify. You know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Some of these myths. And so one of the myths with millennials, and and we're going to try to relate it to church, but one of the millennials is that they're not loyal, right? But it's a little different for you because I know you worked a long career.
Yeah.
But they say millennials kind of move around. Does this apply to church? Do millennials church hop? Do they move around? Or
I think that there was a season over the last. I think that.
Or did that even apply to millennials? Was that another generation?
I think it's because I think generations are sometimes blended, and so it's hard to really determine where we are in terms of that.
Okay.
But I would say that over the past 10 years, there has been a huge shift in what would seem to be an issue of loyalty.
Okay.
I think what has happened is the experiences that we are having in church have caused people to question some things to some degree.
Okay.
And I think that people are looking for this authentic, fresh experience that's not necessarily reminiscent of what their grandma experienced when they went to church. And so Yes, there was some church hop, but I think I'm going to take it a step further and say, I think that more millennials are sitting at home than they are actually hopping from church to church.
Okay.
And I think that's probably something that we really need to think about addressing on a bigger level than just being worried. I don't care where you go to church. I just want you to go.
You want to go to church. Now, that leads me to a thought then. You know, if they're sitting at home, you know, my thought, again, coming from my Gen X viewpoint, is it because they're, you know, have access to the internet now? You know, we always say because they have access to the internet, they can go out and find whatever message that they need per se. Meaning if I'm looking, you know, going through something, a breakup or something, maybe I can find a sermon out there that address my breakup as opposed to showing up on Sunday and hopefully the pastor provides the breakup sermon. You know, do you see that happening or is it just more convenient for them? Is it convenience?
I think it's a blend of things, man. I think that, for some it's convenience. I think that there is a situational draw to find the sermon that's going to move you in that moment or speak to that immediate need. But I think the bigger issue is hanging out in that space causes you to miss the sense of community that you need and that the church was designed to provide.
Okay.
And so I've shared this before, which is there's something beautiful about hot coals burning together.
Okay.
And
what do you mean by that? So
when you get ready to light your barbecue pit, you don't take out coals and just kind of put them in all these little spaces inside the pit.
Right.
You keep them as close together as possible because there's something beautiful about them being able to burn together to draw off the energy of them burning together.
I like that.
And they're less likely to burn out. And I think that many believers end up in this space where they've been burnt out, and sometimes because they've detached themselves, where now they're independently seeking something that the Bible says, how can they hear unless they have a preacher, right? Faith comes by hearing comes by the word, and this word is generally released by God's man. I'm not saying that you can't go out there and get what you're looking for, but I think that the experience of being in this communal space with people that are that look like you, that feel like you, that are going through similar things. There's something beautiful about being able to burn strong and fresh with them. And so we need to get back to a place where that becomes as important to us. Also, the Bible says this, they overcame by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. I need to be around people that have been through some things, that their testimony can help me get over the situation that I'm dealing with. And so, you can sit and find that sermon, but there's somebody in your community that went through it as well. And it's nothing like a real life experience to say, well, if Sherrod made it, I can too.
I hear that. So I think you touched on it a little earlier. You were talking about authentic. What is it? Authenticity? I can't even say the word.
Authentic related. Authenticity of the experience.
Right. And so church, is that something the millennials are maybe feeling like, some churches that we've gone to, I'm experiencing, I don't feel like they get me. I don't feel like they understand me. Is that something that they may be feeling? Or
I think it's 100%. I think that is, and it may not be broken down so much where it's like this individual thing, but I think big picture, sometimes people sit back and they say, I'll say this is a quote by someone directly. He was like, I think the church has its own agenda and sometimes I'm not a part of it. Oh. And so you come in and you're like, they're going to do what they set out to do, absent of what the impact is on me. Ooh. And so I think that we have to be mindful that there are people sitting in these spaces that are like, hey, I'm going through something real. Right. I know you came in with your agenda, but hold that for a moment. Wow. Or don't be so agenda driven and think like, hey, what's going on? Like, I try my best to stay plugged in with what's going on socially with people because I think my social awareness helps cultivate my concept for how to deal in this space of church.
I got you.
Like, people going through real stuff. What's that look like? What's the feel? What's the heart of people? I send out surveys. Like, I want to know what you think. I want to know what's going on because I think it matters to know. And I think when people see the church involved and the church being intentional and it feels authentic, more people will say, that's something I can get behind and be a part of.
Okay. Well, let me shift here. Obviously we've got, what is it called? The Sunday services?
Oh, yeah.
The
Sunday service, yeah.
We've got the Sunday services happening out there by, a lot of people are attracted to that.
Yeah,
The Kanye. And, they can be controversial wherever you want to look at it. But what we can't deny is it's a movement that people enjoy the experience, 100. Enjoy the singing, enjoy all that, and I'm only using Sunday service because that's something that we all can relate to. But
Absolutely.
There's other people that are doing movements and just getting together in intimate places and creating worship. Is that what millennials are looking for, more so of that type of connection where they can sing and worship? And
Absolutely, I think that 100%. People want an authentic encounter with God.
Okay.
That isn't blurring the lines of what faith should look like.
Okay.
And I think that, for a long time, the church was somewhat, and I say this very carefully, the church was somewhat willing to change its position to acquire the unchurched.
Okay. Talk about that.
Yeah, I think that, we changed a lot, things that would not necessarily be acceptable, things that would otherwise be like, yo, that shouldn't happen. I'll say it this way. To accommodate.
Okay.
Yeah,
interesting.
I cautiously say I know a church that had a service and they served liquor at it.
Whoa.
Like this was like a real thing that happened. And I think the controversy behind it is the church should be the church. The church shouldn't be the club.
We don't want the church to be. We don't want the church to be. We want you to be the church.
We want you to be the church. And I might not be there yet, but when I get there, I want y'all to be like, I want y'all to hold the standard.
That's good.
And so I think that we have to be mindful of what our responsibility is. Listen, everybody's not going to come when you think they should.
Right.
But when God pricks their heart and something changes on the inside of them, they need to be able to have an authentic experience.
Yeah.
And we lead that.
That's
and so
good.
there's a responsibility that we must maintain.
Yeah.
For those that believe.
That's
and
good.
so I think that what Kanye is doing, I think is huge. He's creating this authentic thing. For me, I'm very attracted to what Maverick City Worship is doing. Like, I think it's dope. Like, I watch it on YouTube and you can, like, from my living room, I feel that energy in the room that they're in.
Right.
And I got tears in my eyes because I'm like, yo, this is just an authentic thing that's happening. And I think people can get behind that.
They can, definitely. Yeah.
100%.
I mean, because that type of movement, no matter if it feels, it's such an experience that you want to be a part of it if you can. Like, if it's in a place that you can reach and feel that experience, feel like you can be a part of that.
Absolutely.
So, Kanye West. Huh?
Yeah, Kanye West.
I don't want to go too far there, but so going more on that movement and that thought, what should the church stance be, with this particular movement that, it wasn't directed necessarily by the church. So, no organization launched it out or anything of that nature. So how should we handle this?
I think that we always have to proceed with caution just because as the church, we want to make sure that I'm not saying like, yo, we need to be ultra conservative. Sure. I'm just saying that we need to make sure that we're always upholding this God standard,
right?
Because that's what we're responsible for. That's what we're required to do. But I think that we can embrace it as long as it maintains the authentic, true. Like, let me say this is how this was my vetting process for it.
Okay.
I listened to the words.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
What's he saying? Does it sound like gospel? Does it sound is it embedded with truth? And I'm like, okay, I can support this.
Okay.
If it shifts and it becomes anything other than that, then I have to maybe like reassess the attachment to it. If its foundation is truth, if what they're singing gives glory to God, and it's like backed up by word, I can get behind it. And I think the church can be okay with that, even if it's like God uses whomever he needs, whenever he does, to carry out his mission. So why can't it be Kanye? Because if we're changing and we're trying to make our sound the sound that we should release that gives God glory, if our sound is shifting to something that sounds more culturally like right? Like the hip hop,
and I can't distinguish. I'm sitting here listening. Wait a minute, is this gospel?
Like did they even mention God? Like you said this was gospel. You said this was Christian music. They ain't been a mention of God yet. And so we have, I think maybe to a small degree, our era has been, we've been, backing down from the standard so much, hoping that we would get more. And the true draw has been the thing that looks most like God. Wow. And so Kanye releases this thing, and people are like, I'm moved. Yeah. Like, because you hear it. You hear it in the sound. Like, yo, real word. Like, this was authentic. I'm listening to it.
And it's coming from an authentic place, too. You know what I mean?
Y'all can judge me if y'all want. I'm on it. I like the Sunday service. You know what I mean?
Do? Okay. You heard Pastor Tim likes the Sunday service.
If they start wilding out, I'm going to be like, I don't know what they doing.
But no, this is real because, and people want to know, you have questions because, the other things that we've seen in the past, and maybe we didn't see him have his conversion, and so you may have questions. So that's legit, right?
It's legit.
A legit question.
Legit. Yeah, I think in relation to that, there was an article, and I think in this transitional period that he's been in, the impact has been seen in the spaces where his wife is, and she said something in an article or review. I can't quote it because we get so much information.
Right.
But it was something to the degree of how he's changed at home, right? More patient. He's spending more time with the kids. Like, there are more signs than just the music that he's making that some conversion has happened. Now, the hard part is, as a church, how do we cultivate such a large personality, right? And I don't have the answer for that, right? That's outside of my. We need the bishops that are running these huge organizations, because maybe they have more insight in terms of what that looks like to cultivate these larger than life brands and celebrities who've had this experience, and we want to make sure that we don't take advantage of this authentic transformation that's happened for them spiritually. And I think that happens, and so we need somebody who's spiritual enough, who has enough wisdom and is sensitive, and not to take advantage of this change that has taken place with this with Kanye potentially, but to really help cultivate and say, like, be a big brother to him, like, yo, bro, like, this is real, like, and then help him live that out.
It's awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, before we get out of here, I like to always ask, at least one question, for every guest, and every question is different for every guest. But my question, because I'm always trying to understand what people are reading or listening to. So my question to you is, what are you listening to these days, and what would you like to share?
Look at you. Put me on the spot. I've been listening to trap music. No, I'm joking.
They have a gospel version.
A lot of Maverick City, man. Okay. Like that space in worship for me right now has just been, it's been beautiful.
Okay.
So Dante and Chandler, like the sound that's coming out. Okay. I've been listening to Stephanie for a while. Okay. When she released her first album, so like the everything that's happening with that movement, like, I'm 100%. All on. I think we need to create more encounters like that. Okay. For people of the faith, people that are trying to find like something authentic is released in this space where God's presence is heavily felt. Right. And I think we create that more, we see more change. So 100%, that's what I'm listening to.
So I don't know, they don't have CD players no more, but that's in rotation.
You gotta stream that. You gotta stream that.
You gotta stream that right on in. Yeah. That's good. And play it on YouTube.
The question is, what are you listening to?
Oh, what am I listening to? Now, I would say I'm listening to Sunday service, but then no.
Yes, sir.
No, I stick with, like Travis Green. I mean,
I love Travis.
Travis Green is my guy.
That's what's up.
That's what I listen to for the most part.
That's what's up. Okay. Yeah, I like Travis. Yeah, that's what's up.
Well, man, it's been real, man. It's like old times. I know we haven't talked in a minute, but it's picked up like right where we used to.
We're brothers in the spirit, man. You know what it is. Yes, sir.
But before we get out of here, is there, if there's anybody out there listening that may not know you, right? They might want to connect. They might want to follow. They might want to come to church. I don't know. Maybe this Saturday at noon.
This Saturday at noon. Right? Yeah, plug. Shameless plug. Yes, sir.
How do they connect to you, right?
Well, in this world where everybody's on Instagram and Facebook, you'll find me there also. Timothy D. as in David, Timothy D. Holly.
Okay.
HOLLY, Timothy D. Holly on Instagram, on Facebook. I always plug the church website because you're going to find out who we are, what we believe. Like we're Christian, we're a real church. We believe God. We are truelife.org. We are True Life. We are truelife.org.
Awesome.
And of course, on there, then you can always follow us. It's on the bottom of the page. You can follow us on Instagram and on Facebook and on Twitter.
You like, right?
Yeah, because it's True Life Church on Instagram and Facebook. But if you can't find it there, if you don't see me up preaching we are truelife.org is always the best spot to find more about who we are.
Man.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Thanks for having me here.
So, whatever you do, if you enjoyed this podcast or you enjoy watching this YouTube, please share it. Let someone know about it. Tell them about this guy, Pastor Timothy.
Yeah.
And so, without further ado, I guess, I don't know if that's the word I want to say, but until next time, right?
Yeah.
We are here behind the grind.